For 2 years, I had been saving every penny, working overtime, and meticulously planning a dream trip to Europe for my parents and me. I wanted to give them something unforgettable, a luxurious vacation filled with five-star hotels, guided tours, and fine dining. It was my way of showing gratitude for everything they had done for me, even though I often felt overshadowed by my sister Lauren. Lauren was the golden child. She was charming, carefree, and always seemed to need rescuing. While I was the responsible one, working hard and keeping everything together, Lauren floated through life, relying on others to bail her out. My parents adored her, and I had long accepted that I would always come second. But this trip was supposed to be different. It was my gift, my effort, and my way of creating a special memory with my parents. The day of the trip arrived. I picked up my parents, excited to finally share this experience with them. But as I loaded their luggage into the car, my mom dropped the bombshell. "Violet," she said, her voice hesitant, "we've decided to take Lauren instead of you." I froze, the words hitting me like a punch to the gut. "What?" I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. My mom smiled, as if this were a minor inconvenience. "Lauren's been so stressed lately, and she really needs this trip. You're always so busy with work. You can take another trip later." I stared at her, my mind racing. This was my trip. I had planned it, paid for it, and dreamed about it for years. And now, with a single sentence, I was being erased from it. Lauren emerged from the house, her suitcase in tow, a smug smile on her face. "Thanks for understanding, sis," she said, her tone dripping with fake gratitude. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My chest tightened, and I felt the familiar sting of being overlooked yet again. But this time something inside me snapped. The drive to the airport was suffocating. Lauren chattered nonstop about all the things she wanted to do in Europe, shopping in Paris, dining in Rome, taking endless selfies in front of famous landmarks. My mom indulged her, laughing and nodding along, while my dad sat quietly in the back seat, avoiding my eyes. I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, and forced myself to stay calm. But with every word out of Lauren's mouth, my anger grew. They didn't even seem to notice I wasn't part of their plans anymore. When we arrived at the airport, I helped unload their luggage, my movements mechanical. My mom hugged me, her voice soft. "Thank you for understanding, sweetheart. This means a lot to us and to Lauren." I nodded stiffly, biting back the words I wanted to say. Lauren beamed as she wheeled her suitcase toward the terminal. "Thanks, Violet. You're the best." I stood there, watching them disappear into the crowd, my chest tight with anger and hurt. This was supposed to be our trip. Something I had worked so hard for. And they had taken it away from me without a second thought. As I drove home, my mind raced. I couldn't let them get away with this. They wanted to take Lauren instead of me? Fine. But they wouldn't be enjoying the trip on my dime. I pulled out my laptop as soon as I got home and logged into every travel account I had used to book the trip. One by one, I canceled the reservations, hotels, tours, airline upgrades. I stared at the confirmation emails piling up in my inbox, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. When I closed my laptop, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. They could explain themselves to the front desk staff in Paris. I was done being their doormat. The calls started as soon as their flight landed. My phone buzzed repeatedly, filling the room with its relentless vibration. I ignored it at first, but curiosity got the better of me. I picked up the phone and scrolled through the messages. "Violet, what's going on? The hotel won't let us check in. The reservation is missing. Call me immediately. Violet, this isn't funny. Fix this now." I laughed, a short, bitter sound. Fix this? They really thought I'd swoop in and save the day after what they'd done. The phone buzzed again, this time with a call from Lauren. I let it ring out, only for her to leave a voicemail. "Violet, this is so petty. We're stuck here because of you. You need to call the hotel and fix it now." I rolled my eyes and deleted the voicemail. For years, I'd been their fixer, the one who smoothed over every mistake and picked up every slack. Not anymore. When they returned, I was waiting for them at their house. I sat on the porch, sipping coffee, feeling surprisingly calm as I watched their taxi pull up. They stepped out, dragging their suitcases behind them, their faces a mix of exhaustion and irritation. Lauren was the first to speak. "Well, I hope you're happy, Violet. Our trip was a disaster." I raised an eyebrow, staying seated. "Happy about what?" Your mom snapped, waving her hand as if to brush the whole thing away. "We spent the entire week staying in dingy hotels and eating terrible food because we couldn't afford anything decent. And don't get me started on the tours." Lauren chimed in, crossing her arms. "Oh wait, there weren't any. Do you know how embarrassing it was to show up and be told there was no reservation?" I took another sip of coffee, letting their complaints wash over me. "Sounds rough," I said, finally, my voice calm. "But you wanted to take Lauren, remember? I'm sure you all had some great bonding time." "That's not the point," my mom shot back, her voice rising. "You knew we couldn't afford all the things you'd planned. You set us up to fail." I stood up, setting my mug down on the small table next to me. "No, Mom, I didn't set you up for anything. I planned a trip for the three of us, something special I'd been saving for years. You're the ones who decided to cut me out at the last second." My dad finally spoke up, his tone quieter but no less accusatory. "You didn't have to cancel everything, Violet. That was extreme." "Was it?" I asked, folding my arms. Why should I have paid for a trip I wasn't even invited to? If Lauren needed it so badly, you should have planned it yourselves. You're lucky I didn't cancel the return flight. Lauren rolled her eyes. "You're so dramatic. It's just money, Violet. And you're so entitled," I shot back, my patience finally snapping. "Do you have any idea how much work and sacrifice went into planning that trip? Or do you just assume things magically appear for you because someone else takes care of it?" They stood there, stunned into silence for a moment. "I've spent years being the responsible one," I continued, my voice steady but firm. "The one who fixes things, plans things, makes sure everything runs smoothly. And you've spent just as long taking it all for granted." "That's not fair," my mom started, but I held up a hand to stop her. "No, Mom, what's not fair is how you treated me. You chose Lauren over me, like always. So I chose to stop being your doormat. You didn't want me on the trip? Fine. But you don't get to enjoy the benefits of my hard work without me." I grabbed my bag from the porch swing and turned to leave. "I'm glad you're back safely, but don't expect things to go back to the way they were." "I'm done." As I walked to my car, I heard them calling after me, their voices a mix of anger and guilt. But I didn't look back. The drive home felt strangely peaceful. For years, every visit had left me emotionally drained, but this time, I felt lighter. I'd finally said everything I'd been holding in, and for once, I wasn't worried about their reaction. When I got back to my house, I made a cup of tea and sat on the couch, replaying the confrontation in my head. They'd been so sure I'd fold, that I'd given like always. But watching their stunned faces as I walked away was a reminder of how much I'd changed. They could be angry, hurt, or embarrassed. It didn't matter anymore. I was done living my life to meet their expectations.